Yo, what's up? This is Immortal Technique, and right now you're watching Killer Hip Hop, hardcore hip hop, underground, independent. You know what it is. Immortal Technique, Harlem, New York. We out of here.
Oh, what's up, man? It's Eric Kidd. I'm here with Immortal Technique. We are here representing KillerHipHop.com. What's up, Technique?
I'm good. How you doing, Eric?
That's good, man.
I just released a project. Of course, you probably heard of The Martyr. I got about 800,000 downloads. We did real good with that. But of course, in the media world, that was, a few months ago. So now people are clamoring for the middle passage, and we're more than halfway done with that. The movie comes out in July. Also, the movie, the documentary that I was in with Ice-T comes out in June. So I think, it's going to be a pretty full summer for me. I still haven't decided if we're going to do Rock the Bells, but hopefully, that conversation will come to fruition at some point this week, and we'll make a final decision on it either this week or next week. So
that's dope.
Things are moving on.
All right, cool. So I just want to know, where's your state of mind within your music self? Where mentally is Immortal Technique?
Well, I think in the very beginning of my career, since I did a lot of battles and I won every major battle in New York City, I had a lot of aggressive energy, a lot of battle formatted lyrics. But I think over the years it developed from just that one-dimensional presentation into something with a lot more conceptuality, and then of course with a lot more instrumentation. So it's not just a machine, but also we have people coming in on the Martyr, and not so much I would say the Martyr, but also on the middle passage to do live instrumentation, which makes it sound like a lot clearer. Like we may have a shell of a beat, and there's a lot of addition that comes to it. So I definitely want to make it more musical. You know what I mean? I actually read music, which is funny because I hear so many artists call themselves a musician and they don't even know what a note is or nothing like that. And it just doesn't really make any sense. It's just like a martial artist that can't take a punch. And to me, we could discuss all day the formats that are going to be included, but I would just say for people that they're going to get exactly what they know they're going to get from me. Very hardcore sound, very diverse range of being mind fucked. That's what you're gonna get. You think the story's gonna end one way and it doesn't end that way. So I think that for me, it's been an honor and a privilege to be somebody that could put out a record every 3-4 years and people are dying to hear it. And you know what I mean? Every time I come out, we go 80, 100,000 sold in the underground. So nobody can tell me that independent music isn't thriving because I'm living proof.
Of course. And a lot of people are waiting for new Immortal Technique to come out. I actually spoke to a lot of people, and I told them that I'll be interviewing you, and it came to find out that they noticed a lot of your political activism, we could say, and it outshined your amazing talent to rap. But I always want to know, when our time and your time itself by itself, when your time is done, do you want to be known as the man with the great words on the street, or with the great words through the mic?
I think people are going to make their own assessments on that. It's not up to me. I can daydream about what it is. I would like to think that I made an impact a lot more outside the world of music, but I think that being an example to young artists that approach me all the time, and anyone who ever tells you, oh man, I tried to talk to Technique and he wasn't receptive. No, that's your issue, my dude, because you talk to anybody that comes to the shows, if you approach me with love and respect, you get nothing but that back. If you approach me, yo, I need to talk to you. Hold on, nigga. Get the fuck out of my face. I don't know you. You're near me. You're going to get fucked up by someone in the Rebel Arms because I won't deal with you myself. I have shit to do. And that's not me being stuck up. But as long as people approach me, and you have to understand, you're not real or real in comparison to some of the situations when I have to talk to children in some of the worst conditions in the world, or people that are behind bars doing the prison programs. Them young brothers have some real shit to talk to me about. I'm not saying that y'all out there have no struggle, but I'm saying that if you think that you're in the worst condition in the world and that I somehow have the answers to all that, that's your first mistake.
What are your thoughts about companies, big music companies, and other independent labels who believe that a mixtape is actually more important than their own album sale through the...
I'm gonna be honest. I learned this business from old school gangsters, old school Italian and Jewish gangsters that ran the game, and they told me basically, listen, what are you doing with this mixtape nonsense? What you need to do is get on the road and tour, 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 tour. So that's what I did. The first mixtape that I ever had was called The Third World, and that came out in 2008. Mind you, I put out Revolutionary Volume 1 officially in 2002. So that's 6 years later, and that was during the mixtape craze, and everyone was saying, oh, put out a mixtape, a mixtape, a mixtape. I had a mixtape called a quote-unquote Silence Revolution. That's not mine. That's something the fans did together. You know, they threw a bunch of songs and said that was going to be a mixtape. That's not my mixtape. That's not official. That has nothing to do with me. I appreciate people putting it out, but don't get it confused. Like, that's something I personally was out there endorsing, and I think the difference was that I wanted to let people know that I stood behind the music that I made. I wasn't hiding from nobody. You know, hip-hop went through a lot of changes during this last decade, and the beginning of this decade was a little bit closer to the 90s, where people thought they could approach you in a certain way for something you did. Everybody found out that was the wrong thing to do. Whenever it came to the process of developing an artist, I tell people that the mixtape is irrelevant if you're not out there supporting your music touring. You know, you cannot be an artist that just makes music and doesn't hit the road. When you put out a record, all you've done is create a myth. The people come to the show to see if the myth is real, to see if you're real, or if you're just a story, if you're just a fabrication, if you're just a character that was made up in somebody's imagination that looks good on record but isn't shit in person.
And speaking about touring, you just got off a couple of tour dates. You just came back from Europe, am I correct? How was that? How was that all? How was that whole experience?
You know, I mean, they don't have high fructose corn syrup because it's illegal in Europe, so all of the soda and the juice taste better, even though I really don't fuck with soda like that.
Yeah.
But the food, delicious. The shows, damn near all of them were sold out, so I think independent hip-hop, you know, another tally for that. I think that it's incredible to see that response to places I haven't been in 2 years, to see them welcome me back like that, to see that it hasn't diminished in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, all that's happened is that the numbers have increased from the last time I was in every single location. So I feels great, and it feels good to be back, even though I enjoy being on the road, you know, just as much as I enjoy being home.
That's cool. And I saw on Twitter the other day that you tweeted that you asked your fans. I think you asked your fans about touring in the Middle East.
Yeah, I asked them what they thought I should be in, or what countries that they thought I should perform in. And it's funny because you get so many interesting responses. Yeah. People are like, oh, you know where you should go? You should go to Yemen. Hold on, you're not even in Yemen. You know what I mean? You're tweeting me from England. Yeah. Go find me a venue in Yemen. Yeah. Go find me a promoter that does hip-hop in Yemen. Go find me one that does one in Saudi Arabia before you start telling me these ridiculous things. Yeah. But then there are some more feasible ones that where people were really being... And that's no disrespect. Shout out to Yemen. I love y'all motherfuckers. But I'm saying that when people give me the more feasible ones, like, yo, I know this great club in Beirut, in Lebanon, where they do like hip hop, you should come here. Or when people say, yo, Istanbul, or stuff, places that I know people have rocked at before, I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I think about going there, going to Egypt, definitely Palestine. But I think that what people need to understand is that we're doing something a lot bigger than just music. So it's a little bit complicated when I go out of the country. You know, when I came back from Afghanistan, every trip that I took after that for like the next 2 years was hectic. Especially coming back into the country, they used to throw my passport in that, not in the little yellow bag. That's for y'all dumb niggas that didn't pay your child support. They put my shit in the big red bag that was like, nah, come with me. You don't got to talk to these little petty officers here. You got to come in the back and have a conversation with one of the regional directors of Homeland Security or some shit like that. But, you know, it definitely, it's a complicated thing. It's not easy. You know, some rappers, they rhyme about being chased by the feds because they want to glamorize that. That's nothing to glamorize, because the feds, it's like, I don't understand it, man. If you want to seem like we should feel sorry for you, or like you went through something really tough, why don't you rhyme about having cancer? Because that's more believable. You rhyme about feds chasing you. Feds do fucked up things, brother. Eric, they'll indict your mother and be like, you know what, my nigga, you gonna cop out. You gonna cop to 20, Or we're not going to get your moms for everything, but we have that bitch on the phone talking about laundering money with you. So you know what? Mommy's going to do 8 years or you're going to do 25. Which one do you want it to be? You got about 5 minutes to make up your mind, little nigga, because I got more people to deal with than you. That's the feds.
That's crazy.
When they after you, they don't sit there and listen to your mixtape and think you're a tough guy. They look at you like you food. Because they deal with a million niggas like you every day. How often do you have to deal with a federal indictment being smashed down on top of your head? Now, mind you, I got people in the feds. I understand how this game works. So, it is what it is. And I'm telling people, we don't have to glamorize or make it seem... Life will put you through enough that you don't need to act like you're going through something to make yourself feel like you accomplished some shit.
Being in Afghanistan in your upcoming documentary?
Absolutely. In the documentary, it comes out in July, The Revolution of Immortal Technique. Not only is there footage in the movie, but also in the DVD extras, there are subsections from different places where, you know, we have probably like a short film, 10, 15 minutes here and there. It's almost like 2 hours and change of DVD extras. So they're not just getting the movie when they cop that, they're getting a complete package.
Okay. We'll touch back on the documentary in a little bit. But I also want to talk to you about, in September, I saw that there was pictures of you with Lupe Fiasco on Occupy Wall Street.
Definitely.
How did that come about? And are you guys gonna hook up for any collaborations anytime soon?
I mean, I've known Lupe for a while. We had actually met prior to that, and we'd always had a positive rapport. I got a lot of respect for him because he's an artist who's on a level that's beyond just underground stuff, where he could do like stadiums, you know, big arena on his own, and yet he chooses to not ignore issues that the label would rather have him not deal with. You know what I mean? He tackles subject matter that is very important. I find it very commendable. It must be incredibly difficult for those two worlds to coexist, but I appreciate him being who he is, and so I have a lot of respect for him. As to me and him doing a collaboration, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it was recorded right now, I probably still wouldn't tell y'all niggas, but I mean, you know, I'll put it this way: when it happens, y'all'll be
surprised.
The third to know.
Oh.
There's a line of people who owe me and who I owe, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm doing my first interview with y'all. I owe niggas.
Yeah,
you gotta understand,
yeah,
man.
I got you. That's cool. But I also want to touch another subject. A couple of weeks ago, you know who Lil B is, right?
Yeah.
I really want to know, what are your thoughts about NYU paying top dollar for him to come into schools and to speak to the students about life? And if NYU came to you to speak to the students, would you do it?
I've done it.
Oh, you've done it before?
Sure. NYU has come, asked me to talk to a class or a university. I've done that with Johns Hopkins, Princeton, you know what I mean? Yale, wherever, you know what I mean? I have come to the great institutions of learning, and I've also gone to a local high school. I've gone to, you know, charter schools, youth prisons, youth detention centers. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, in terms of Little B, it's funny because people always expect me or other individuals from the independent kind of hardcore underground world to be like, oh, I don't fuck with this dude or fuck with that, fuck this nigga. But I keep it real with y'all, I keep it 100. I met Little B at Paid Dues, and he was with Ninth Wonder, and Ninth introduced me. He's like, oh, Little B, this is Immortal Technique. And he turned around, he's like, is that really? He was like, is that you, brother? I said, yeah, what's up, man? He goes, oh, man, it's an honor to meet you. And he was so respectful and so peaceable that, you know what, I wouldn't even dream of saying something disrespectful about him. It has nothing to do with his music. If a man approaches me with that type of homage and respect, then I have no choice but to return it. You know, I come from a different world than a lot of these other rappers. They feel like they have to posture for somebody, or they feel like, oh, if I don't diss him, then the fans will what? My supporters are my soldiers, and they know that I live by a code. So if somebody shows me love, what kind of fucking G do I look like? What kind of commander do I look like, being someone that has so little discipline enough to not apply it to himself, to say, hey man, if somebody comes to you with that type of love, you're supposed to return it. That doesn't mean that I co-sign everything he does. That doesn't mean that he co-signs everything I do. And I think that doesn't just reflect on him, But that should be a reflection for other artists to realize that this is a huge genre of hip hop. That I've done songs with people who don't even speak English. You know what I mean? So what right do I have to sit here and criticize somebody because of how they dress or what they rhyme about? Hey man, as long as you keeping it interesting, as long as you understand that this is a real struggle and that people had to pay a price for us to be here, even able to rhyme or able to drink at the same water fountain as people of another quote-unquote race, because race doesn't really exist, I can appreciate the difference in the variety in hip-hop, you know? So I ain't got nothing bad to say about it.
That's cool. And a couple of days ago on May Day, I saw coverage of you performing in Union Square. And how did that all come about, of you performing in such a activist movement and being able to recite your words through music and through while being on the streets? How was that like?
Well, I mean, I've been participating in the Occupy movement pretty much since it started. And to me, I felt like, you know, being that I just did a song for the Occupy compilation, it just felt like I should be there as a representative. And when I was asked to be there and so many other of my contemporaries were on there, it made perfect sense to me. It clicked. So it was definitely an honor to be on stage. A lot of media outlets picked it up, and you know, automatically the media blitz starts again. You know, where is Occupy going? Where is this? You know, people ask me crazy questions. Are you the spokesman for Occupy now? Like, no, dude, stop that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, I understand a lot about the frustrations of what people deal with down there. You know what I mean? A feeling like their movement's been marginalized. A feeling like people are saying, oh, y'all are back now, when in reality, they're like, hold on, we never left. We've been getting, you know, brutalized by police off camera, not just on camera. You know what I mean? And I think that there is a lot more conversation now about the disparity that exists in race at Occupy. Like, they want more Black and Latino people involved, and that's a conversation that needs to happen a lot more. Because even though we don't realize, and a lot of niggas I talk to, they be like, oh, come on, man, you want to bring me down there around mad cops, nigga? Like, the fuck, yo? Like, it's funny when I talk to brothers from the hood, because they'll have a whole different perspective, and I ask the activists to be understanding of that. They're like, yo, man, it's funny, they say to me, like, I don't got some rich white parent to bail me out. Fuck, yo, these niggas go in and come out. What the fuck? And I'm like, well, not everybody there, you know, is some, you know, person with a silver spoon in their mouth moonlighting as like a broke activist. Some of these people really, you know, that's what they're living to. Yo, so why the fuck are they there? I'm like, yo, my dude, realize that if this movement helps anybody, who do you think has the most to gain out of it? Us, because we on the bottom, my dude. Whatever they done experience, we'll experience it, plus the racism dumped on top of that. So where should we be putting our support? You know? Something's got to change, my brother. And at that point, I think when you talk to people with that level of understanding, then they begin to be a little bit more open-minded. And it's not like people change overnight, you know? No one's going to change overnight. Nothing's going to change overnight. But I think with that idea in our head, that at least that's the direction that we want to be going in, to diversify not just the message, but the people, and then to then use that momentum to refocus the message again, to say, hey, listen, if there's social disparity, we are the living proof of it. You know what I mean? We were the down payment for America. The people of the legacy of the people of color that live here. We're the down payment for capitalism. We funded that. When you were struggling to get on your feet as a country, who do you think was the engine, the little engine that built this whole shit? We did.
That's cool, man. And you have a lot of friends, of course, I guess, through the music industry. I really want to know who has been the most inspirational person within music or hip hop that you've ever sitting down and spoken to about music and politics.
Man, there's too many people to mention, man. There are too many people. I'll mention a couple, though. I would say Chuck D is definitely a great inspiration. Ice-T, KRS-One, great inspirations. Rakim, Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian. I mean, I could go on, but you get the drift. Yeah. People that will say to me, yo, you know what? This is what I got paid for this classic album. This is where the game was at this time. This was what was going on in New York when I first came out and did my first record. This is the difference between doing a show now and doing a show then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a little bit more of the world I understand than kind of the world that I was used to, but, you know, this is the new improved hip-hop where you can just talk like a gangster and hide behind Twitter and 40,000 bodyguards and you feel like a tough guy. You know what I mean? Back in the day, you had to be in a cypher. You might get thrown the fuck out if niggas ain't think you was nice. Like, they would really fuck you up.
Yeah.
I come from a New York where people weren't afraid to boo someone off stage.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Where, you know, if you punch someone now in the face over some beef, you know, they'll call you a bully on the blogs. Because a lot of the blogs are run by people who got punched in the fucking face when they was in high school, too, for no fucking reason. I love y'all niggas, to the real niggas on the blog. But, and I'm not saying that made hip-hop better or fun, but it gave it an aggressive push that it doesn't have now. You know, this is a different genre that we live in, you know, and I'm not making a case for going back to shooting people over Reebok pumps or killing people over polo jackets. That's not what we need to go back to. But what we need to understand is that we had some semblance of who we are in the very beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we loved our people. Nowadays, anybody could try to be down with hip-hop, and they don't love us.
Yeah.
Why are they letting us in here? You know, why are we letting you in? And it's got to the point where you're not even the gatekeeper of your own art anymore. You know, you have no control over what it says.
Okay.
You know, the people are completely left out of the equation. It's a business, you know, like any other business, like any other entertainment business. That's what all the A&Rs continuously drill into the heads of young artists that are saying, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? So I tell the young artists, before you listen to someone who gets $80,000 a year for being a house nigga, let me repeat that for you if you didn't get me. Before you listen to someone who gets paid $80,000 a year for being a house nigga, please, you don't have to do anything anybody's way, especially not the industry's way, okay? You don't have to live by these quote-unquote rules that they set up for people. No, make your own lane, you know? You want to win the game, you have to get to a space that's not on the chessboard. If you don't know how to do that, start making pop music, nigga, and just fit in with everybody else. The Orphanage, they came out in 2009.
Okay.
And I think that for me, that was a personal triumph as much as it was one for the people that were involved, because it showed me that look, I'm an artist, I'm an activist, I'm a revolutionary, but I don't know anything about building schools. Victims of a horrendous war and an occupation, the ability to live a life that I'm afraid to say a lot of people don't even have the privilege of living. Mm-hmm. Being fed and being clothed and living in a home. You know, we take that for granted. The people watching this program, you're on a computer, which means you're probably in a house somewhere. Or if you're in a laptop, nigga, that means you got money. You know, I'm telling people, the rest of the world, the majority is not like that. So I really have to emphasize that this was something that gave me a lot of inspiration. It showed me that if we can do this there, then why can't we do this anywhere else in the world? You know, why can't we do this in Peru or in La República Dominicana, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, anywhere, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, Africa, or here in Jersey, in Harlem, you know? If we can succeed under those conditions where I'm, you know, walking around areas that are pretty much a war zone.
Yeah.
You know, okay. Where we have the Taliban and Al-Qaeda to deal with. You know, that should give some understanding to people that you're able to do this here and the power is really yours, you know. The impossible is possible. You just think it's impossible, you know. And that's the bottom line. People can do what I did. You know, there's always some skeptic that has to be, I've always heard it, oh man, Technique's talking about shit I already know. Great. That's wonderful to hear. You cynical piece of shit. Now go do something with that knowledge instead of being on YouTube commenting like a fucking troll. Mm-hmm. Oh, he built an orphanage. That's not revolutionary. That's happened before. Great. You do that now. or you come up with some creative idea. Because if your whole point is to outshine me and be more revolutionary, I welcome that, you know.
Yeah.
I love it when people are out there doing it, but you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because it's about you. I'm not doing any of this for me. I said it's a personal triumph because it showed me that we could be successful, that I could find other organizations to do this with. Because I found other people that really gave a fuck and were willing to put it down and be a part of a human rights organization that isn't some sham like a lot of these are, where they take all your money and then, you know, only 75% goes to them, and they take, you know, only a quarter of every dollar you give them to put it to the actual cause. That's not charity. That's a hustle.
I saw in the trailer, I was trying to find the documentary online, but then I found out that it's not out yet because the blogs were saying that they were out, but then it wasn't. Then I found out it's not out. So
don't believe everything you read on the internet.
So I saw that you were talking to Ice-T and Woody Harrelson. How was that? How was those conversations like?
Well, you know, Ice-T is somebody that's been in the game for decades. Not just as a rapper, but also as a movie star. And when he talked about the way hip-hop has changed and the way he used hip-hop to change the mentality of people from the hood, I thought that that was a beautiful and very powerful addition to what we were talking about in terms of the process of evolution. Woody Harrelson is a longtime friend of mine, somebody who is an inspiration to me as well, because he's a person who is an artist and also an activist and finds time to balance that out, you know, and be like, listen, you take one project at a time, you try to take 7. Believe me, we've been there, I've done that, but it gets crazy. There's no personal time for you and your family. And I see the way he balances that time done doing movies, doing activism, and working with his family, which is incredibly important to me. Family is very important to me. And seeing that someone that was able to do it on his scale makes me think to myself, man, there's no excuse for me not being able to be there and represent for my loved ones and also do the activism and music. You know, I have to find that balance. I haven't always been perfect at doing that, to be honest. I've failed in a lot of points. But I think that that failure made me stronger and made me able to say, no, I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to make it happen. Talking to them was, you know, a blessing. And I've always appreciated their friendship and their advice. And Ice-T is just the coolest motherfucker on the planet. You know what I mean? I remember I was like, yo, I need you to sign this release form. He'll pull up in the whip like with like Coco and his son, like, yo, what up, son? Here you go, my nigga. Like, just the coolest motherfucker on the planet, man. So I appreciate them and everything that they did in terms of all this, as well as everybody else. And I don't just mean the quote-unquote famous people like Cornel West or KRS or Chuck, but also I really think that when people see the documentary, they'll see the words of wisdom that Ill Bill, Q Unique, Poison Pen, Southpaw, then on the room, the producer, Akir, everybody else dropped about independent music. You know what I mean? About that struggle, about performing for 50 people after driving 4 hours. You know what I mean? Sharing one hotel room on some straight day laborer status with like 10 niggas in there. You know, barely just making enough money to feed ourselves and go home. And then, you know, evolving to the point where we were selling merch and then making some money to take back ourselves. And that's a process. And seeing who made it and who didn't, you know what I mean? Seeing who was there and who had to say, hey man, I gotta fall back from this. I got like 3 kids to feed. Y'all niggas can go keep doing this shit if you want to. I got, you know, represent. You know, everyone has their own personal crisis in life that needs to happen for them to understand what their priorities are. So, you know, I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in now. I learned a lot from it, and it's very humbling. You know, I give thanks every day for everything I have. I give thanks every day for every meal that I have. You know, and it doesn't matter, like I said, whether it's a big rap star that wants to talk to me or whether it's some kid on the street. As long as you approach me the right way, I always show love back. It don't matter if it's MTV or the Huffington Post. I was just on both of them. Or if it's KillerHipHop. I'm here. You show me love. You call me up. I hit y'all back. That's what it is. Immortal Technique. Harlem, New York. We out of here, baby. Peace.